For those who aren't aware, I feel like this is probably a good time where I need to mention that I have a master's degree in film directing from a well-respected film school in Southern California. And I've worked with actors for a couple decades now as a filmmaker. And I'm also a screenwriter as well. So I kind of dabble in both. And many of my mentors have Academy Awards. So they know their stuff better than I do. And I don't say that to make myself seem like more important in some way. I'm no important than anyone watching or listening to this. I don't have an Academy Award, whatever. But I say this to give you a little bit
You have an Emmy Award there. You're great. I'm proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you. You're my husband and you're really supportive. But I really just mentioned this like to give you a little background on why I talk about voice acting so much during these analyses that we do of these games. It's because to me, great voice acting is truly an incredible art when it's done well. And I just love it. I appreciate it so much. And in reverse, spoken words that simply mask emotion leave me incredibly disappointed. So this is a world that's very important to me and I know a little bit about. And if you ever want to hear my full analysis of voice acting across all the mainline Final Fantasy games, we do have a full-length episode that will help shed some light on my perspectives there, so I don't have to go too deep into what those are here. But the interesting thing is that every time I criticize a voice actor in a mainline Final Fantasy, like Rebirth or Remake, I always get angry comments from people on our videos who disagree. And that's like normal. Like when you put yourself out there on the internet, you're going to get like angry people about all kinds of crazy things you would never expect. But disagreement, totally cool with me. I'm a big free speech advocate. I love open discussion. But that said, I am seeing a pattern with some of the criticisms regarding voice acting critiques that I think are deserving of at least some clarification, because I don't think people understand what I'm talking about sometimes. And that clarification is this. So when critiquing voice acting, I see it as kind of, there are really two categories from my perspective that you can judge in a voice actor. The first category is, does the voice actor sound the way the character should sound? Which basically means, does their voice timbre match their physical appearance? Like, if they're a big and furrow-browed character, is their voice deep and gruff to match it? If it's like a shy girl character, does she open her mouth and sound like she could sing bass in a quartet? I mean, hopefully not, right? Rather, she would have like a soft, tender female voice. This category is pretty simple to judge. And in this category, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth knocks it out of the park. They ace every character. Barret, Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, Yuffie, Red, all of them. Side characters too. The old guys sound like old guys. The gruff fishermen sound like gruff fishermen. The children sound like 40-year-old women trying to be children, but that is a topic for another day and the exception here, right? Aside from some of the kid characters, everyone was cast with a voice that matched the physical appearance of the character they voice. That's category one. Does it match the character? And this is the category that is easiest to judge. You don't need to have training in acting or directing to recognize when a character is lacking in this category. You just know. Everyone listening to this right now is probably pretty advanced in judging this category. But, oh, here we go. It's the second category of judging voice acting performances that is just as important, if not more so, and is actually much more objective. Right? And that category is authenticity. How authentic are the emotions of the voice actor when they're recording their lines? Are they actually mentally and emotionally putting their whole souls into the shoes of the character for that given scene and then just letting the lines come out as they naturally would? If their character is crying, is it because they're actually incredibly sad in real life, standing there in that studio with real tears streaming down their face, even though no one will see them? And so it comes across in their performance as this person is really, really emotional. They're really sad, which means that the way it comes out is going to be squeaky sometimes and like it's going to sound imperfect sometimes, right? Like if you listen to Clive in Final Fantasy XVI, when he has scenes where he has to get emotional,
his voice cracks or something happens.
Yeah, his voice cracks. It's not perfect. He's not thinking of how he sounds.
And he's not faking that. That's just,
he's not faking it. He got himself to those places as an actor. And he was really, really mourning in those scenes.
Look at me, Joshua. Open your eyes! Open your eyes, Damien! did you do this? Joshua. Joshua!
He wasn't pretending to mourn, he was mourning. That is authenticity. That is really good. There is a huge difference between an authentic performance and somebody who is crying because the script says to cry and they know how to make their voice sound like they're crying.
I'm sorry, he's gone.
Huge difference. And the difference between great actors and those who aren't great comes down to, are they putting their souls into the scenes and their lines come out however they naturally will, even if it's imperfect? Or are they performing their lines the way they think the lines should sound? Okay? So the moment an actor starts to think, I need to sound like this, or that word should sound like this, that authenticity immediately vanishes. And you get this like really superficial performance that a tuned in ear can immediately recognize as being superficial. Some performers can fake it pretty well, but even then, our subconscious, I would say, can usually feel that they're faking it. And actors pretty much are either great in this category, the second category, or they're not. Which is why you have to cast somebody who is great in this category, and they'll usually be pretty consistently great at performing across the board. And conversely, just like it's hard to like teach a tone-deaf singer how to perform an opera, it's hard to teach an actor who doesn't get it in the authenticity department to suddenly master it, which is why casting is so important. Or as one of my mentors used to say, he was the director of like Saturday Night Fever. And do you remember Short Circuit?
Yeah, I know that one. Johnny Five.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, I know Johnny Five.
The director of those movies is one of my mentors.
Okay.
And he would always say 50% of good directing is good casting. And he's totally right. And much of it is due to this reason. Because if you cast somebody who gets it in the authenticity department, they'll usually give consistently amazing, authentic performances across the board, even if your direction's not perfect. But if you cast somebody who doesn't get it, then they're just going to be thinking about how the lines are said all the time because they don't understand that there's a deeper way of acting, right? Now, what does this have to do with Aerith? Okay, let's bring it back.
I like it. Good. Set the table. Let's eat now.
Thank you, supportive husband.
No, I agree with you because I also am smart with acting.
So when it comes to Aerith, right? When I first started playing this Final Fantasy VII Remake series, I was super pleased with category 1 of all the actors, right? All the characters sounded the way that they looked. Barret sounded like Barret. Tifa sounded like Tifa should sound. Cloud sounded like Cloud. Aerith sounded like Aerith should sound, and so forth. But when it came to category 2, the more objectively judged authenticity category, as happenstance would have it, I was generally much more impressed with the male leads than the females. In particular, I thought Barret and Cloud and Biggs were fantastically authentic. Tifa? Oh, this is going to be an unpopular opinion because everyone loves Tifa, and she's an awesome and beloved character.
She has huge boobs.
Something wrong?
Okay, but I'm going to say it. So for those of you out there who know, you know, if you understand authenticity in acting, you know, the Tifa actor is thinking about how her lines should sound more than letting the words naturally come after putting herself deeply in a scene. I hate to say it. Sometimes she does better than others, but it's pretty consistently across the board that way. And the result is that I'm just not as bought into her scenes, which is a bummer because I really want to be. And I know that even saying this right now means I'll probably never get to do like an interview with her, you know, but I've got to be real. And that's just how it is, right? Now, Aerith, however, she was somewhere in the middle in Remake for me for this second category of authenticity. At times she was like sing-songy and like trying to sound bubbly for the sake of sounding bubbly.
He's my bodyguard. And a soldier. Pretty cool, huh?
Which also could have been partially the fault of the voice director, or, you know, it could be a number of different reasons. But then in her soft, calm scenes, she was much more authentic and believable. So I didn't know, like, what to think of her in Remake as far as performance goes, because sometimes I really liked her performance and sometimes I wasn't a fan. She seemed to have talent, but either maybe she was, like, young and just learning how to master it, and I do think that is part of it, or maybe she was also caught having to try to make the producers happy with achieving a certain voice sound throughout or something. I couldn't figure it out. But in Rebirth, there are still some sing-songy moments with Aerith, but it's this scene right here in chapter 6, this little character building, relationship building moment in chapter 6 on the beach that convinced me that Aerith's voice actor is talented and that she does know how to do well in the authenticity category because she does it right here.
Sometimes I imagine the things I'd do to him if I got the chance. I start thinking things so dark and ugly that it scares me.
And you can't fake it. You can't fake it. Once you show you can do it, it's like, okay, it's there in her system, right? And that was really cool for me to witness. So I think her name's Brianna White.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she cares about my opinion or will ever see this, but she did. You won me over, Brianna, with this scene. And later scenes, too, in the game. So I am now on the Aerith is a good actor train. And it's worth saying that voice dubbing also in a game that was previously recorded in Japanese, that puts a lot more strain on the voice actor's ability to be authentic.
Sure.
So we should probably be all the more impressed when they achieve believability and authenticity. But at the same time, a good actor can figure it out and do well even in those circumstances. And I think Cody Christian does a really good job in this.
Oh, yeah. I love Cloud.
And I think when people say that they don't like his casting, like some people have said they don't like his casting or whatever, I think it's just because they don't like the way he sounds or they don't like the way the character was written. Because in terms of authenticity, he is on.
Yeah, if you know Cloud, he is Cloud.
I can't think of anyone who would do a better job.
I don't know. I think he's gotten better. Like, I know that in Remake, I was not impressed at all with Cloud. And in this one, I think he's gotten better. I still think Barret takes the cake.
I think Barrett's incredible.
Barrett's fantastic.
So on point with that character, it's not even funny.
But so is a character like Biggs, right? Like, who is a total side character.
Yeah.
He's great in authenticity.
Gideon Emery freaking rules. Shout out.
Yeah, Gideon Emery.
He's awesome. But I think Cloud it's his arc. The whole story of Final Fantasy VII is Cloud's arc. So yes, the beginning game, you're like, oh, Cloud, but he doesn't have much to say. He's reserved. He doesn't talk.
Yeah.
And that's all we get from him. It's like, so Cloud he's so one note. He's supposed to be one note. Like, that's why he is the way he is. Mm-hmm. And Jolie has convinced me a little bit as I've listened. I've played the game a couple times, and Tifa does feel like she's searching for what to sound like rather than just being that way.
That's a good way to say it. Searching for how to sound.
But the cool thing with Aerith, and maybe this is just serendipity, it wasn't meant to be this way, but Aerith is discovering more about herself in the games too, right? So it's at the end of Remake, it's hey, I've got some more things to tell you, because I remember feeling a tonal shift when she talks about, remember the portal opening at the end of Remake, and she's like, if we walk through this, Destiny's going to change forever. I felt like that was a good acting moment.
Totally.
All these moments and memories, precious and fleeting, they're like rain rolling off his back. And when they're gone, he won't cry or shout or anything.
The bubbly stuff, earlier in the game, it's she's just I'm flirty, silly, goofy Aerith, right?
Yeah.
And she has that more, but then she has more of these moments where she's I really know what's going on, and her voice acting mirrors that.
It changes.
It kind of matches that, which is cool.
So I just kind of wanted to explain that because 85% of people out there are oblivious to the fact that there is this second category of authenticity, but they think they understand it. Does that make sense? They think they can judge voice acting, and they're totally missing this objective category where if you work in the industry, you can pick it out real easy. And it's objective and more than anything else. There's some subjectivity to it, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the industry at all, but I always use the example of it's the difference between a regular actor's performance and Heath Ledger's version of the Joker, or Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker.
I mean, those are two great examples of being totally engrossed in the scene.
Oh, yeah.
They're amazing.
The other one is Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday, right? There are certain performances, if you want to call it that just, unfortunately, they end up typecasting the actor a lot of times.
Yeah, because they were so good.
But it's because they nailed that character, from end to end. And sometimes the result is tragic, right? In Heath Ledger's case.
That's Jolie's point, right? Level 2, they put themselves there emotionally. And because you put yourself there emotionally as the Joker, you're going to be in a dark place. Yeah.
So if you're playing an evil character, you kind of have to make yourself feel and think those evil thoughts, right?
Yeah.
That's good acting.
Rather than just being I can do a laugh or whatever.
I'm a villain.
And that's the reason I want whoever voiced Roche to voice Kefka Palazzo.
Dude,
in the
yeah.
6 remake.
Roche's voice actor is fantastic.
He would crush it.